Welcome again to the Not So Quick Theological Thoughts. I'm Howard Fisher, and in this, I want to do a few part series, maybe 3 or 4, interacting with Sam Harris, who had a debate with William Lane Craig many moons ago. And I just want to, we'll just go through the video. There's a couple things in there that I think we could just single out and just do 1 or 2 videos on, but sometimes it's kind of fun to walk through these things. So let's pull up the screen and we'll share it, and let's just dive in and interact with Sam Harris. Now, keep in mind, Sam Harris is a brilliant guy. If I were in a room with him, I'd quake in my boots, right? Just, I get it. We serve the risen King, the Lord Jesus Christ, as Christians, but yet when you're talking with an intellect who's quite brilliant, it can be nerve-wracking. And so to be in a position like William Lane Craig to be debating this guy, that's quite a challenge. So hats off to Christian apologists who take on people like him. But nevertheless, the arguments that Sam Harris puts forward, if those of us who aren't of that caliber, let's just walk through it, take our time, think about these things, quick theological thoughts, and see where we end up.
Again.
Well, that was all very interesting.
Yeah. Responding to or listening to William Lane Craig, this is the atheist attitude. And the atheist attitude is just that, what you got right there. That's all very interesting. Whatever. You guys are a bunch of morons. Religious people are morons. You people believe in stupid hocus pocus stuff. There's nothing about me that's silly. What I believe is just reality. I mean, the attitude atheists can have is what can trip up a lot of people, because they're confident in what they believe, and I would say they're overconfident.
Ask yourselves, what is wrong with spending eternity in hell? Well, I'm told it's rather hot there, for one. Dr. Craig is not offering an alternative view of morality. Okay, the whole point of Christianity, or so it is imagined, is to safeguard the eternal well-being of human souls.
What? Where does it get this from? The whole point of Christianity is to guard souls? Yeah. There's some truth to that, but the point of Christianity is missed by... This is the problem when Christians argue on the level of the atheists. We grant them certain presuppositions, and it's just full of baloney. That's not why Christianity exists, right? It's a result of Christianity is that we end up preserving life, right? Preserving culture, preserving societies, preserving Western civilization as we live in the West, and hopefully preserves other civilizations as well, right? But that's not the key thing, right? The key thing is, it's right in the catechisms, right? We were created by God to worship God and to enjoy Him forever, right? And Christianity, what it does is it redeems humanity. God comes down to man and saves mankind. God comes down to man and redeems a people for Himself and glorifies Himself in the salvation of a people and the saving of a people. The other flip side of that is people are shocked that God glorifies Himself in the destruction of the wicked. We don't like to say that part. The William Lane Craigs out there don't like to say that part. But it is. It's very much a part of it. And to give the Christians to give both the warnings and the call to repentance, right? So this kind of stuff, to start off with, I think it's just arrogant.
Now, happily, there's absolutely no evidence that the Christian hell exists.
Happily, there's no evidence, right? We've seen jokes and memes and videos that make fun of this. Yeah, if we discount all the evidence that says that hell exists, right? Well, remember, he's an atheist. Well, what does the atheist accept for evidence? Anything that is in the naturalistic, materialistic worldview, right? So he presupposes naturalistic materialism, and ta-da, look, no hell. So, I'm sorry, but that's not how you look at the world. Is there evidence for naturalistic materialism? Where is it? I'd like to see it. It's an idea. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Right? He uses the laws of logic. Where is it? Show it to me. Well, you see it expressed all the time. Okay. Right? Yeah. Laws of thought. Where do you find them? The doctrine of hell comes from the scriptures, which he's going to admit later, which he already rejects prima facie. So it's just, for him, it's all discounted right off the bat. I'm sorry. The Christian doesn't start there. So he's not refuting anything. He's just reinforcing what he already believes.
And I think we should look at the consequences of believing in this framework, this theistic framework.
Let's look.
And what these moral underpinnings actually would be.
Let's look at the moral underpinnings of what, supports the doctrine of hell. So think about what he's saying there. Let's look at it. We're going to approach it from a neutral, objective, above it all. We're going to look down upon it, and we're going to bring judgment to see whether or not the moral underpinnings of the doctrine of hell are good or bad. And where does he get these moral underpinnings? Where does he get this judgment? By what standard? There's no evidence for any of this. He's just making it up. Notice he gets to cite his own ability to judge with no evidence to support that he has this authority to do so. There's an ethical system. Well, where's the evidence for this ethical system? Oh, he doesn't have any. But we know hell doesn't exist because there's no evidence. See, if we think through these things, he's already contradicted himself right off the bat. But this is where we Christians have to think about these things, and people in general have to think about these things.
9 million children die every year before they reach the age of 5. Picture an Asian tsunami of the sort we saw in 2004 that killed 250,000 people. One of those every 10 days, killing children only under 5. It's 24,000 children a day, 1,000 an hour, 17 or so a minute. That means before I can get to the end of this sentence, some few children, very likely, will have died in terror and agony. Think of the parents of these children. Think of the fact that most of these men and women believe in God and are praying at this moment for their children to be spared. And their prayers will not be answered.
All right, so we've got the problem of evil here. Thousands, millions of children under the age of 5 will die in a certain amount of time. And by his worldview, what? A bunch of wet bags of stardust concerned about other wet bags of stardust perishing prior to the age of 5. And parents are praying. These good people, they're all good, right? Notice the assumptions, we're all just good. And that mean, nasty Christian God, if he even exists, which he obviously doesn't, just sits by and does nothing about it. So we pronounce judgment upon God. He doesn't have any basis for this whatsoever. None. But to cite, well, these parents are just praying to this. No, they're not. They're not praying to this God. Right? They're not. It's like these people read the Bible and don't read the Bible. Right? Man is an idolater. That's what man is. Man is a sinner. He expresses his sin by loving his idolatry, his idols, right? So whatever God people are praying to, apart from Christianity, they're not praying to the one true God. They aren't, right? The Bible tells us so. God has explained this to us, right? This is just, it's just making assertions here. He can't, and he's judging with a standard he hasn't even begun to explain, and they never do.
Okay, but according to Dr. Craig, this is all part of God's plan. Any God who would allow children by the millions to suffer and die in this way, and their parents to grieve in this way, either can do nothing to help them or doesn't care to. He is therefore either impotent or evil.
Grounded in what? What if he chooses to glorify himself in the damnation of sinners? Well, he's evil then. Based upon what? How about God is holy and displays his wrath and his justice, his righteousness, his holiness against evil men? How about mankind is evil and God is judging them? But instead, what he does is he idolizes himself as God, and then he brings judgment against God as the evil one. He flips the table around. He turns everything on its head. He becomes the good one, and God's evil. It's upside down. God didn't sin in the garden. Adam did. God didn't bring evil into this world, right? Adam did. Adam, if he had obeyed God, could have preserved the world in righteousness. He would have, in a sense, kept it from the evil one in the garden, right? The Satan, the serpent that tried to come in the garden. Adam could have put a stop to it right then and there, and he didn't, because he saw something that he wanted, saw something that he would have had access to as he matured. But like people who try to reach for things that they should not reach for yet, you know, the 8-year-old reaching for the car keys to drive it down Main Street and then doesn't have the maturity to do so, right? Crashes the car. Adam crashed the car, to use maybe a poor analogy. But anyway, this it's just making stuff up. He doesn't have any grounding for this at all, and he's flipped the world on its head.
And worse than that, on Dr. Craig's view, most of these people, many of these people certainly, will be going to hell because they're praying to the wrong God.
Right. But notice what he's doing there. The moral neutrality, right? These people are praying to the wrong God. They're trying. They're good. They're trying to pray the right God. And it's just, you know, it's just a mere fact that they weren't born in the right place. Let me let him finish here.
Just think about that. Okay, through no fault of their own, they were born into the wrong culture where they got the wrong theology and they missed the revelation. Okay, there are 1.2 billion people in India at this moment. Most of them are Hindus, most of them therefore polytheists. Okay, in Dr. Craig's universe, no matter how good these people are, they are doomed. If you are praying to the monkey god Hanuman, you are doomed.
Again, it's through no fault of their own that they're sinner, that they're going to hell. If they just had the right opportunity to believe in the one true God, if God would just come down and talk to them, and they would believe, they would pray to the right God. But God hides himself, and so, you know, these people, they're praying to the wrong God, but not through any fault of their own. That is just pure malarkey, right? That is again, it's upside down world. He's viewing the world completely. It's with him on top and God underneath. Man is not neutral, right? Romans 1, God tells us that man knows, Sam Harris knows that there is the one true God. He knows it. And what does he do? He suppresses the truth in unrighteousness. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus performs a miracle, and two people see it. Right? It's actually more than two people, but there are two people that see it. One person sees what Jesus does, and it's like, wow, this is the Son of God. Another person sees it and says, wow, this guy is of the devil. Right? So they see the same thing. And yet, the sinner sees Jesus as his enemy. Why? Because he's a sinner. And so sinners see the holiness of God as their enemy. Rightly so, right? The holiness of God offends the natural man. The holiness of God offends the sinner. There's another story where the rich man and Lazarus, right? The rich man goes to hell. Lazarus goes to heaven. And just to shorten up the story, so Lazarus eventually ends up in heaven, but the rich man goes to hell. And so basically he sees Father Abraham, and Father Abraham says, hey, you're on the other side. Lazarus gets his piece. You're in suffering. And the rich man says, send Lazarus back from the dead, because if he were raised from the dead, they would believe him and avoid, warn my brothers so that they would not come to this wicked place, this terrible place. And Abraham says, even if a man were to rise from the dead, your brothers still would not believe. Because it's not the capacity of man to love the holiness of God. Man is a sinner and an idolater and rebels against God. So none of this, everything he heard Dr. Craig saying, he heard and interpreted completely upside down. He heard everything Dr. Craig from a world that's, he is on top. He is in judgment. He's God. Sam Harris is God, right? He's putting forth an ethical system that, where is it? I don't see any evidence for it, but he knows hell isn't real. All right, we'll pick up here the next time. The next time we do this video, which I'll probably do another one here in a few minutes, but we'll break these up. You got to remember, these people can be intimidating. Your neighbor may be an atheist and he may be intimidating. But think about what's being said. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question. You know what? I haven't heard that before. Let's think about it. You know what? Let's talk through it. Let's think about what you're saying. Let's walk our way through this, because they do that to us Christians and they try to rip us apart, right? That's what Sam Harris is doing. He's trying to rip apart his opponent in debate. Let's step back and let's look at what Sam Harris is saying, right? Let's walk through it. Let's think through these things. When we slow it down, we think about it, all this stuff, it loses its intimidation factor. And these people who are as brilliant as they are, right, as they can, if we're in the same room together in a crowd of people, yeah, he's a great speaker, yeah, he can take over the conversation, yeah, he can walk all over you, but you know what? So what, right? We're here to discover what the truth is. We're here as creatures of God to know the truth so that the truth can set us free. And Sam Harris needs the gospel. So we'll come back and do a part 2 here in a little bit. So God bless. Be good.